Hello there and welcome. My name is Jimmy Wikman, and in this video we're going to take a look at the Atlassian cloud changes that occurred between March 25th and April 1st. So let's jump right into the articles and see what they pushed out for us. So here we are now in the blog post for the Atlassian cloud changes March 25th to April 1st, 2024. So we just do as we always do, we just jump right into it and see what kind of fun stuff that they have rolled out now last week. So let's jump right into it. So we start with the JWM Clickup Importer. So this one is something that we have seen before, and this time it is for the ClickUp application. So if you want to migrate from ClickUp to your work management, you can now do this the same way that we have for other types of products. So what you do then is you go to projects and you create project, and then you click more and you select import data. So I'm going to show you what that one looks like in our demo environment just in a minute. But it's important to remind you then that just like all the other ones, you cannot migrate it directly into an existing project. And these one only seem to work when you want to import the data into a new project. So what you can do is, of course, you can create it to a new project and then you can move it into an existing one. But just so you are aware that you cannot do this one and import it into an existing project. But let's jump over to the test environment and I can show you what this one looks like and how it works. So let's jump over to the test environment. So here we are now in the test environment, and to import from ClickUp, then you go to Products and you click on Create Project, and then you will have all the templates here at the top, and then you have the products. And down here in the More section, you will have now the import data. So if you click on this one, then you can now have import into a new business project, for example, software or a service project. So this is how it works then. When you click on this one, then you will get the option to import from CSV. And this is where you then import it. And you can also select then the one that we have this time is now then ClickUp. It will actually take you into ClickUp and ask you to connect it. So I don't want to connect it right now since this is a test environment, but you have all the other ones. We have already talked about the Asana and Monday before. And you also have from Smartsheet, which is a popular application also. And Airtable I haven't used that much. Then you have Sheets and Excel to import from, and you have the CSV. But down here is where you have it, and then you just click on the tool. It will take you down to ClickUp and ask you to connect to it. And then you can migrate or import from it. So that was how you connect this one. So let's jump back into the article again. So here we are now in the article again. So this is the JWM Clickup Importer that we were talking about. So let's jump over to the next one. So next one is see all of your virtual agent conversation in one place. And this one was a little bit tricky because I was not really sure, because we are talking about the Jira Platform. So this is generic. And then when we saw this one, no one in here actually tells you where is this one actually located. And because it just says to check it out, go to virtual agent and then select conversations. But it did not have the starting point. So it took a little while before I realized where this one was actually located. And this one is actually located in your project. So in your project, you now have in the project settings something called virtual agent that you can find. So let's again jump over to the test environment so I can show you that. So in your project here now, if you go to project settings, you will have something called virtual agent down here. And I haven't connected it yet, but in this section is where you now will have the conversations. So if you're wondering what they are talking about, like I did, this is where they're actually referring to. Let's jump back to the cloud changes again, and let's jump into the next one. Hide unused fields when creating issues. This is AI based now, and this one can be good or it can be terrible, depends on how it actually works, or rather how it is getting trained, I guess we should say it. Because what it will do is when you create now issues, many of us have projects where you have an insanely amount of custom fields, even though we don't want it. Some people need it, or maybe they just have it regardless because they don't know how to use forms, for example. But what will happen now then is as you work with the different forms, or when you are creating now the issues, the AI will now learn when you have fields that you don't actually fill out a lot of times, and then they will now start to clean up your interface by moving them to something called more fields. So it will be kind of like you have in the issue view. So when you have the more fields, and when they are being used, they will move up into the common area, so to speak. So this one can be a little bit interesting to see how it works. I haven't actually been able to trigger it yet to see that it's a test instance, so it's kind of hard to know when to show and not to show, because I create like 5 tickets and that's about it. But this one can be good, and it can also be kind of nice, because then you will also, in your project, you will continuously see what fields are we not using, what fields are not filled out, so you can actually start optimizing that for your project. And this one is automatically turned on, but you can manage it by heading to personal settings and scrolling down to Jira Lab section and turn this one off and on. So this is an interesting new feature actually, that is using AI to help us narrow down or simplify the work we do without actually moving or removing anything. So I think it's just a matter of making sure that the more field section is prominent enough and informing users so they know that this one is actually happening in their products. So let's evaluate this one and see what how it feels in a couple of months from now. Next up is filter result dashboard gadget improvements. That's a very long title for something that isn't really that complicated. So what they have done is that they have now 4 dashboards. So this one is for the gadget called filter results. They have now aligned it with how it works in other areas. So for example, if you go now to the issue navigator and you see how this one is presented, it now uses the same functionality even in the gadget. So if you don't know which one this is, let me show you. I can just jump over to our test environment again, and we can go then to dashboards and the demo dashboard. So up here you will see it will be called filter results, and this one is now showing the same way it does for other areas. So if I would like to show you how to add one of these, so what you want then is the filter result. This is the gadget that you can add, and this is what it will look like. And if you configure this one now, you will see that you have the columns, you can add the columns, you can auto refresh it, and you can set the number of results, and you have a saved filter for it. That's basically what it has. And this one will now show the same way, and you can also you can order them by the different columns, so you can have them in whatever order you want, if you want it. So this is nice that we have it aligned now, so these views will be the same as we have, for example, for filter series. So this will be then, show to list view. This will then be the same kind of layout that you have. I like that. I like that we are connecting the different UIs and making it the same type. I think it will also be easier for Atlassian in the future to update these when we have a global design for it. So this is a good one. Plans in Jira introducing the calendar views. I guess they stole this one now then for Jira Work Management, and they realized that the calendar view is kind of nice when you're planning also larger things. So what they have done is they have introduced a new calendar view, and you would think that they would add that to the views, but no, they didn't do that. They added it as a new section instead. So let me show you that one as well. So if we go to plans, so you would think that it would be here, but instead they have now added it here and to the sidebar here. So if you click on the calendar here, this one will now show you the same kind of calendar view as we have for Jira Work Management. And of course you can click on these ones and you can see more information about them. So I don't know if this one I like the idea that it is a calendar. I would have liked to have it as one of the views instead, and I would like to be able to customize them because this one shouldn't be any different from any other view. So I would like to move it from there up to there, and then I would like to be able to have the view settings here and be able to configure it a little bit. So that would be my preferred view to have it. But it's good that they add it, and I think it will be very useful for many people that are working with plans. So overall, it's a good implementation, even though I wish it was a little bit different than what it is now. Those were plans. And also the calendar is view only, it is read only view at the moment. So you can add filters to it, but I'm guessing since this is in beta still, and they are going to tweak it a little bit and see what people use it for and how. But overall, a very good change. Let's see, Jira Service Management. Let's move over to that one. And I feel like this one we have had now several weeks in a row. So what they have now is then that we have a schema counter, and because of the limitations that they have placed, this is now more important than ever. So what that one looks like is if we go into assets, you will have a counter here on the side, and you will also have the reports part up here where you can get more information about it. But this is the counter that we have. So it is on the assets overview page left of the objects counter, so you can keep track of it. Good. Quickly create incidents from your Slack channels. I don't have this set up, so I cannot actually show you how it looks. But you can now create incident directly from your Slack channel. And so what you do then is you use the JSM ops and create incident. And then you can create it directly in the Slack channel, and you can fill out the incident details. And when you create it, you can also choose to link the incident to a new Slack channel or existing channel. So these are the functionalities we reported there a couple of weeks ago. So you can actually create an incident and create a dedicated Slack channel then for discussing it. Or if you already have it, then you can add that to the incident also. And once it has been created, then all the details, updates, and actions will be available, and the affected service responders will automatically be added to the channel. So if you have a service set up and you have responders connected to it, then they will automatically then be fetched and brought into the channel as well. Overall, very good. Products and entitlements. This one is interesting because on one hand I like the way it's implemented, on the other hand I don't like how it's implemented. So let me tell you what I mean by that one. So what they have done is now that they have added a functionality, because we already have the organization where we can now add more information about the organization, which is great. Even though I wish we could also connect it to where we actually have this information. So for example, Salesforce, I would like to be able to fetch it from Salesforce. Now to that, because you must have this activated before you can use the entitlements and products, is that you then don't really have that connection. And what I mean by that one is, even if you bring it into the issue, you still need to go into the profile of the user to actually see the entitlements. So let's first, before we get too complicated, let's discuss first. So to get started now, you need to go to project settings and features, and you need to enable this one. And this one can only be enabled if you have the organization part activated first. So when you do that, then you can add entitlements to a customer's profile. So you can actually add this one. And just like with the organization part, you can add multiple fields for it. So you can add more information about it. And the problem I have right now is that one, this one is not shown in the ticket, and two, the values, regardless of what kind of products I add, the values for the entitlements are the same. So this needs to be diversified. But let's jump in and show you how this one works. So first, let's go to our blank project. So the first thing we need to go then into product settings and features. And down here you will have now customer and organization profiles and products and entitlements. And like I said, you cannot activate, if I disable this one now, it will actually disable also products and entitlement. So you must have this one activated first to be able to have this. And once you have those, I now will see then, I will have customer details here on the side. So I can open this one and I can see the information about my customer. If I go to the profile here, you will see the full information. So what I have done is, let me just show. I have created now 3 different fields here for the customer profile itself. And these are the ones that you see here. So here I can now change between different, my select box here, I can change the description, and I can have if the person is active or not. These are all good and fine. And then I can now create entitlement, so I can select a product. So first I had to create the products, which you do down here on the products. So here I've created now 2 products, and now we can add one more. Product 3. And now I can now create entitlements. And if you look at manage entitlement, these are the same, regardless of product. And this does not make much sense to me because products and services can have very different kind of information. So this one feels a little bit too generic for me. Let me just see, like this. So I can add now any kind of fields I want here, basically. So we have checkbox, we have phone numbers, email, anything that you are familiar with or that you probably want to use as simple data for your products here. So then I can add now, I can now add a product. So now I can add number 3 here that we just added for, that we added down here in the product section. So I can add number 3. So then you will see I have number 3. So one of the thing I don't like is also they cannot be sorted or changed, because as a customer I can have one primary service and then you can have multiple add-ons, for example. But I would like to have the primary one on top. And this one will now just show up as if I remove number 1 here and I add number 1 again. It will now come on top. So it will just be in the order that they are added. So I would like to have the option to 1, sort these, and 2, I would like to be able to pin one. So I can actually make sure that I have one that is in top, that is the primary service or product that I want to have. But as you can see now, I added product number 3. I always have the same values here. So in the entitlements, in the product here, regardless of what kind of fields I put in here, they will be for all products and services. And I think that is not a very good thing to have, because like I said, many things have more details, and some of them are need more fields and some need less fields. And now we will have the same for all of them, and that's a little bit too bad. And I also would like to have to be able to create a field that here is assets, because I would like to be able to connect to asset data here. But that's maybe a little bit, maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Maybe this is just the first iteration and they are testing it out first. But this is what it means that we can now create products. So we just need to now differentiate between products and services. Because services is something else, and that one is from assets. And now we have products that are something different. So we're starting to divert these. Maybe we need to connect them somehow. Because I like the idea that you can actually populate now with more data. And I know that specific things like SLAs and service agreements and stuff like that are very important to have on the custom object. So I'm for this one. I just wish it was not implemented the way it is, because now if I look at this one, I have my customer details and I can see information about my detail, but I cannot see the products. I cannot see the information about the products. And I have to go now to the profile to actually see it. And that's, it feels unnecessary and too many clicks, and now I have to go back to the ticket again and so on. So yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good functionality, but I think it needs to be updated in implementation a little bit, because right now it's a little bit clunky, and we're starting to see that we have products now and services. They are not connected, and they are different things. One is an object in Jira Service Management, one is in assets, and we do not have the same connection between the product and the customer object, and so on. So overall, a good implementation, but it needs work to actually be functional, I think, from a practical perspective. Lots of talk about products entitlement, but it's exciting, it's nice, and I look forward to seeing this one being evolved even further. Confluence. Use Confluence automation to create incident tickets in your service management. So now there is a standard automation for this, and I'm not really sure what they were thinking when they did this one, or because they will create incidents based on the whole page. So let me just show you how this one works. So let's jump over to Confluence here, and we can take this page for example. First, let's start with the automation. That should probably be the best way to actually do it. So in the templates now, we have one called cross-product section, and we have a manual trigger to create a Jira incident report and comment on a page. So if you click on this one, then it will take you to the setup guide. But I have already set it up, so I can just show it what it looks like when it's configured. So it's a very simple one. So you have a manual trigger on the page, so you can actually trigger it yourself. And then it will create then the incident here. Let me just show you this one. So it is, we can now define who can run it. And then it will create the incident, and we'll connect it then to our Jira product and to a specific, our Jira instance, and then to a specific product in it. And we can predefine different fields if we want to. And then it will add a comment then to the page itself. And it will then tell you that we have created an incident, and then we'll have the URL then to Jira where it is. So the way it works now, if we go here, is that we now can go to the automation. If we click on that one, we now see that we have a manual trigger. And if I click on it, it will now say your automation is in progress, then it will take a little while. And we can just reload the page, and you will see it has now created a comment here, and it will have created now an incident in our Jira project. So this one will now be connected just like we expect it to be when you create incidents like this. Now, is this useful? I don't know. You can set it. Let me go back to the automation so I can show you. So in here you can actually select this one. Don't create a new incident if we already created one. And this one will mean that per page we can now create one incident. Or if it's unchecked like this, then we can create unlimited ones. So the question is just, when do we need to do this one from a Confluence page, and what is the purpose of that? I like the implementation. I like it's very simple to set up, and you get a guide to actually do it when you have the global automation or the global template for you. So in that regard, it's nice, and there's nothing to complain about it. I'm just wondering about the use case. When do you create incidents from a specific page? So we'll see how this one can be useful. But overall, it's very easy to set up. It's kind of nice, and it works perfectly. So let's see, which one is next? Full screen image preview in edit mode. I don't know if I ever wanted to see this one, but it's I can see the use for it. If you upload a very small thumbnail, for example, you might want to check to see if it's even visible when you do it in full view. So what this one means is that you can now preview it when you go to edit mode and you have an image and you want to see how will this one look like when someone clicks on it. So again, let's go back to this one and go to this one, to our template here. So I'll actually upload an image here. And if you click on it, then you will have the full view. Nothing has changed in that regard. That has always been there. So what is new then is when you go to edit mode and you have the image here, you will see that we have this little icon here that says preview. So I can make this very small. And if I click on the preview, it will show you what it looks like when you have it in full screen. So this is a very good thing that you can preview it for. But that's basically it. And that's how you can then preview this functionality. So it's, I don't know if anyone actually needed this one or requested it specifically, but it's a nice feature to have. And it's good if you're working with, especially now when you're working with inline images, for example. And you want to see what it looked like in edit view. Next up is then only for Confluence Premium, so better content management. So what they have done now is that they allow you to do even more. And so they have added a filter option to view pages, so you can see which one have that are inactive, and also which one that have owners that have created them at some point that are now inactive. So let me just show you what that one looks like as well. So if you go to your project here or your space and you click on Content Manager, then you will have this filter up here. So you can show inactive pages, for example. Then you can filter in period here. So depending on how long you want to check. And so then you can get a list of that one. You can also have it then for pages without active owners. And then you can even select different page owners. You can find, for example, if someone important in your company have left, then you can see which pages do they own, and then you can change the ownership of those. So this one is nice, a very good addition, especially if you want to work with stale content. So you can find out which one then are inactive, where you have no views, no comments or updates for a while. Those pages probably should be removed, or they should be reworked to be useful again. So that was even better content management. And then we reported about this one a couple of weeks ago, I think. So what this means then is that now when you are editing or creating pages, you will have both the header, so you can have now the sidebar, and the top navigation will remain. So rather than having it like we have had in the past, where you will only see the page like in a kind of like distraction-free mode, and now you will have the sidebar and top navigation there. And you can collapse the sidebar, of course, as you always can. So let me show you this one as well. So if we take a create page, for example, you will now see that this one remains, and you will also have this one at the top here so you can see it, and then you have the page here. So we can work with the page the way it would look when you are viewing it. And me personally, I like this one because sometimes you want to make sure that the content actually fit the frame, so to speak. And that is kind of hard to know if you have more space or the content where you actually are writing these ones are larger than what it will actually be shown when you actually view it. So I like this one. And like I said, you can collapse this one and you will have basically distraction-free writing here as usual. And then you can show this one. Oh, sorry. You can show this one whenever you want. So this one is, I think this is a good change. I wish this was something that you could set in your personal settings if you wanted to have this when you have all of this, or if you wanted to have the distraction-free version. I am guessing that eventually we will have something up here that will allow us to have a distraction-free. So we will actually just push this one up, and this one will push to the side also. So I think it will come back because some people really, really prefer to have distraction-free writing. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. For now, anyway, this is what will happen when you create new pages or if you edit new pages. And then the last one today, I think, is Bitbucket. So they're introducing something called CODEOWNERS. Now, I don't work with Bitbucket, but for those of you who do, so CODEOWNERS is a feature that will help the teams automatically assign best suited reviewers to Bitbucket pull requests and do so in a fast way. I don't know if this is something that people are struggling with, but in your team, it's difficult to get someone to actually review your pull request. But anyway, they have introduced something called CODEOWNERS. So these are based on which files are in the PR change set. So the CODEOWNERS file resides then in the code repository and describes which file patterns are owned by which teams. So this one is then if you have a pull request that is where you have multiple teams involved, I guess. So in the CODEOWNERS file, you will then map file patterns, which I don't know if this is the best way to do it, or if it's even, it depends on how you're working with file patterns, I guess. But by doing this mapping of code paths to well-suited CODEOWNERS, they can now have reviewers automatically assigned to pull requests. And that is, I guess, a good thing if you don't collaborate within your team, or if you have very large teams that don't really sit together, or I don't know what the purpose is to automatically assign someone to pull requests. But if you need it, then I guess this is a good thing. And this removes the mental load from the PR author and deciding who to add to their pull request. Well, yes, but do we really have that much mental load? What kind of teams do you have when this is a problem? I'm guessing we're talking about 50 plus people or something like 20 plus people. Most teams don't have that many developers in the team. They might collaborate with other teams, but what you usually do then is to assign it then to another team owner, and they will make sure that someone in their team will handle the pull request. I don't know. Like I said, I don't work with Bitbucket much, and I have limited experience when it comes to working with pull requests in this way. So if you understand what the purpose of this one is and in what situation you need to remove the mental load to actually decide who should verify your pull request, then please let me know in the comments. But that was it for this week's release notes. I'm just going to scroll to the top here. There is one thing I would like to show you at the end here that I found kind of like by accident, since I'm working in Jira Service Management Cloud now. And that is, I don't remember we have had it yet in the release notes, but it's so awesome, I just want to show you this, and that is in the board functionality here in the Jira Service Management project. We used to have only quick filter that you could not edit. So the limitations were kind of hard. And so it would just basically, you could set the columns. That was basically it. And they have now rolled out, I don't know when, but it's probably fairly recent. So in the configuration now, we actually can do quite a lot of things that you can do in the Jira Software project. So you can define the swim lanes here, for example, and you can do quick filters. So now we can define them anything you want. You can do card colors and card layout where you can add more fields. This now makes boards a whole lot more useful when it comes to working within the Jira Service Management perspective. Because the quick filters alone, especially now that we can also filter on teams, will make it extremely easy to work with multiple teams in one project. So basically what you do is you just define a quick filter here for each team, and then you can also set the swim lanes like we have done, for example, based on request types. Then suddenly you will have a very easy overview, and you can focus on specific request types at a time. And then you can use the quick filter then to show exactly what you want. And if you want to have this one on a signee, for example, or if you want to have it in another way, then you can use the quick filters instead of filtering on request type or issue type. The card colors might not add a whole lot. Some cases it can be good to assign so you have the different priorities, for example, in different colors. Or it can be depending on the request type, or rather the issue type. But the card layout here, this one is very, very good. So if you want to show the priority here, or if you want to show a reporter, for example, it is this easy. And if you go now back to the card view, then you will actually see this one will now be printed out. And I think this one is excellent and a whole lot more useful. So even though we still can only have the board set up for specifically one project, you cannot have multi-projects yet, I still think this is very useful. And I think this is one of the better implementations for Jira Service Management that I've seen so far for boards. And I really like that they are now expanding on the functionality here. So if I could just request something here while we are talking about it, then it would be probably that I would like to be able to have here on query. So I can have my own swim lanes based on different queries. And was it something else? No, I think that's the one thing I'm really wanting here. But overall, this one was, I don't know if this one will come out for next week's release notes or something like that. But I just wanted to show you this one right now because it's really, really, really good actually. But that was it. That was the Atlassian Cloud changes from March 25th to April 1st, plus a little bit extra. And if you like these kind of videos, and then please subscribe to the channel. These ones comes out every week. Not entirely sure which day, because it depends on my workload and my state of mind, since I need to record these on kind of odd times. And sometimes my family is home, sometimes they are not. But they will come out every week. And if I can't make it one week, you will have two the following one. So with this, I guess the only thing that remains for me to say today is that I hope that you will have an awesome day and a great week.